Hello everyone. My name is Lukzha, and let's talk about, well, the worst of Marvel's projects, because there's quite a few out there. I'll talk about the TV shows mostly, because the movies require their own little gimmick and such. So let's begin. One of the worst ones, in my opinion, is She-Hulk, and the reason is that
Circle.
they didn't
Why is there
capture
such
She-Hulk
a
as she
god-
should have been. They captured her more of a whiny,
Nice.
unlikable heroine, while in the comics and such, she's a much more complex character with multiple action sequences, abilities rivaling the Hulk, and her best attribute is the fact that she's in control. And how did Marvel screw that up? By making Professor Hulk show up too damn early. Because we had Professor Hulk already, she felt like a copycat of what we already had. And that made her very unlikable. The fourth wall breaks and such, that's fine, but that was usually locked for Spider Man, Deadpool, and a handful of other characters. Spider Man also just sometimes in the TV shows and animated series and such, but that was mostly what it was saved for. She Hulk was quite bad, but mostly is it's due to them not focusing on what She-Hulk is and less on the cast, if I'm going to be honest, because Daredevil was in the TV show. He was there for maybe about
Is it just me
10
or
to
did the damage
15
dog
minutes.
just say
He
that?
aura farmed, he was unique, he was likable, more so than your main character, which says a goddamn a lot that people preferred the secondary character or someone that's an underling essentially to the main protagonist was more beloved than your main character. It's poor writing, that's for one.
The power
But
of the
Marvel's flops aren't just limited to She-Hulk. There's quite a few as well.
because of me is beautiful and your team shouldn't be in your
So,
right.
but before I
Your
talk
right,
about
right.
them, let's talk
It's
about the
Marvel
ones that were
matchmaking
good as well.
has
So,
been quite
WandaVision was awesome.
has been quite shit.
Agatha All Along was awesome.
Like
Those
for a
two
while.
shows sit at the pinnacle of what Marvel can do with their characters. And I'm not talking about anything that had other characters in it so far, because if we start going down that route, Moon Knight,
Has been quite
freaking who
shit.
else? What was it? Daredevil Born Again, and
Because it's
many
it's
other
not,
examples of that sort in the TV show
specific
market,
to you, right?
especially their
So it
what ifs
opens
were
you.
so much more superior
You have to deal
that
with
it shows that Marvel does have the ability
opportunity
to write
or
an
the
excellent TV
ability
show.
that
It's
you're
that
gonna
they're
get
scared
5
to do
titans
so
in one game
without harming
or
certain
5
egos
heroines
and
in one
certain
game or 5
ideas
DPS
that
in
they've
one
already
game,
pre-planned
right?
for. Because
And then
if
something
they
and
step
you
on too
might
many
actually
toes,
just
then
get
you're not going to
kicked,
watch it. And if
like
they don't
that
stop
actually know
step
how
on
to
enough
play
toes,
themselves.
then they might not be
I
ideal
think in
to
our
the character that they
situation
want.
we've gotten
Daredevil was
right like Dylan Panic, so
unapologetically
I'm
wonderful.
flexing.
It
Just
was
playing DPS
brutal, it
no one wanted to
was
deal with the freaking
chaotic,
dive
it
of
was
Deadpool.
story driven,
So I'm just hoping
everything
that's
that Daredevil needed to be. But She Hulk was everything a show should not have been. Even the aspects which they should have focused on was her being a lawyer was BS, to say the least, because they didn't really focus on her
well, the thing
luring
is sometimes some
as much
characters
as
are
they
just
should have.
weak in
Because if
certain
you're
ways.
going to
Like
focus on
Deadpool,
a character being a superhero and
he's
a
doing very
lawyer,
well. Like
you should have
he's
focused on
the
one
guy's
aspect
doing
more than the
genuinely
other,
very well.
and the other
But
had to sit in the
he
background.
is
But they tried to do
a
both,
very
and
muscular
it became
in
like a
this movie
massive
specifically.
train wreck, and
But
even
because he's making it work,
in
it
some
doesn't
would
matter.
say a massive car
Right?
crash. But that said,
The enemy's still
let's talk
undeadable.
about
Like the second
the
they're off of
other
Deadpool,
show,
I'll go something else to
which
kind of
I'm
deal
pretty
with
sure
it.
everyone
But
is
right
going to
now,
agree with me,
the
which
biggest
is
issue is
Ironheart.
that they're able to just
It
jump into
was
our back line
genuinely
without consequence.
bad. And people are like, oh no, you didn't like it because it's not Iron Man in it. No, 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 no. We will watch almost any Marvel property as long as they're portrayed amicably and correctly. Ironheart was standing on the shoulders of Tony Stark, Iron Man, but would not acknowledge Tony Stark,
What the frick?
which is stupid. If you're gonna make a show about Batman's
What the
underlings,
frick
let's
did
say
I
like
bounce
Nightwing
on?
or Robin, you are going to acknowledge the Titan that was there before them, right? Even if you're focusing on Barbara Gordon or even not as much as Batwoman, because Batwoman's not that well written even in the comics, in my opinion, because she's not that well liked. Especially if you're going to make a Batgirl show, you might as well go with Barbara Gordon because she's more preferred. So, no, that's a tangent for another time.
The damage
Ironheart's
boost.
biggest issue was that
The damage
they
boost that
gave
they
her
give
everything
Strange is
that Tony
unneeded.
Stark had to build for, and the payoff was because she's really smart.
Who can I go? I can go back
That's
to
fine. Like,
Milwaukee
the
for
genie's out of the
Batman.
bottle. Everyone knows how to make an Iron Man suit. Okay, fair enough. She makes a really cool one. But what makes her
I can
unique?
go
What
another
makes her
healer
her own
and
character?
leave our Namor to do
Nothing
all
that's
of that.
too impressive, in my opinion.
Let's do that actually. We might as
The
well go
other
another
thing is
healer because
because the way the movies
I'm
ended
not
on
able to
when Avengers
do
Endgame
anything.
with
And now
the
my
death
because
of
we have
Tony
Sting
Stark,
and he's in the
and we
group.
see Tony's daughter there watching the final hologram of her father, people expected, including myself, that we would get her in the TV show, or a TV show based around her, or her and Pepper, but we didn't. We got Ironheart. Fine, she's a fun character, sure, but even in the comics, when they did introduce her, she wasn't well liked because she was standing on Tony's shoulders and didn't really sort of break out of his shadow to become different enough, fast enough.
What the frick? Why am I getting
They
lag
were
all of a
hoping to
sudden?
sort of recreate the Miles Morales situation, but you got to remember, for Miles to run, Peter Parker had to die.
I'm
And
not
Peter
sure if
Parker
I'm
died in an
lagging.
alt universe where Miles could then sort of slowly build into that universe's Spider Man sort of an origin story and a becoming a hero story. But they fumbled with Ironheart even in the comics. So making a TV show based on
Hopes
a
I'm
character
losing
that
my.
was already fumbled wasn't the best idea. Marvel does have the capability and does have the ability to make excellent shows because we've seen Moon Knight, we've seen Daredevil, we've seen WandaVision, we've seen Agatha all along, and I'm gonna go off on a limb and say even the new Vision show that's coming out, Vision Quest, is gonna be insanely
Oh
good.
my god, no.
But that's mostly because the writing's gonna do it justice. Now here, most of the writing fell flat because they were in service to making the character look strong without actually giving a
That's
justification why the character's strong.
as long as
You're
you
like,
know.
oh, she's this good. Why? Because she's X, or Y, or Z, or D, E, F. But how did they get to that point? No one wanted to explain. No one wanted to sit down and sort of build her and break her, or break them and then rebuild the character. We're just supposed to expect that our hero is perfect, our hero is the way
Just
they are, and if you
fine.
don't, well, you just don't like it because it's a woman. That's not the case. Agatha
Oh my
alone,
god,
Scarlet,
no.
and Wanda
So
Vision,
unfortunate.
most of the main
I'm
cast,
go. Okay.
and their main
Hope you have
protagonists
a
were
nice
female, and they did an
sleep.
excellent job. So that wasn't the reason. The
Um,
reason was poor writing, poor decision making, and poor idea on what the
I
fans
can make it back in
wanted or
time. They
were
brought me a few
expecting,
picks.
which they could
I
have
just need
done
to.
because they've done it in the past where they've done surveys, they've done test screenings, and asked fans, hey, what do you think? But I guess the way it works is that we're just going to cherry pick what we like, and that's what you're going to get, and you just have to deal with it, which I think is like a poor way of doing it. And Doomsday is coming up, which is again because everything else prior to Doomsday flopped so damn hard, besides Spider Man.
Freaking damage is
They are
good.
forced to bring back Tony Stark, they're forced to bring back Steve Rogers, they're forced to bring back all of the old cast from Avengers, put them into this movie,
We can still
and for you
probably
to
win this. It's gonna
watch
be a very
and sort
difficult fight.
of be like, oh, this is awesome. Because none of the new characters are likable. The ones that are fall under street tier, like Daredevil, Spider Man. Moon Knight could fall under higher as well. Punisher. All these guys fall into a category where they are important, but they're not super important to a cosmic threat. And I think it's time for Marvels to sort of step back from a cosmic threat and go back to just a continental threat or a city threat, and then have the Avengers or the new Avengers work on it. But that's not
Marvel's
going to
been
happen
the
because they
healer.
just want to go bigger and
So
bigger and bigger because they
they're
have more
starting to
money.
have
They
control
have
there.
a larger budget, and when you have a larger budget, you want to blow it on stuff. And right now, I think most of their
Oh my god,
VFX
I'm
budget
probably
and
gonna
such
get
is
off it
very,
right
very,
after this because
very
it's
razor
super
thin,
laggy.
because a lot of it's going to the actors. Why? Because the actors have worked very hard and they have earned their paycheck, so obviously going to ask a pound of flesh, right?
I'll put it. Thank
And
you.
I think that's what's causing a lot of these shows to sort of falter
Oh
because
my god,
they're
no, please
trying
don't.
to build new
Stupid
characters
game.
without trying to give homage or respect to the ones that came before it. And it's going to cause a massive issue eventually. But as for now, as long as it's Marvel, and as long as it's a movie, and as long as it has the characters that we like, we're gonna watch it. And I think it's gonna continue until Disney or Marvel Studios make some sort of massive punch in the gut sort of situation, which they have, in, even in their films, like the recent Captain America movie, the Captain America and Winter Soldier show was also really good, which I don't know how it did not translate to a good Captain America
Why?
movie. They
Why?
had the Red Hulk
We
in it, for
win, we
God's
win,
sake, and
we win, but
even then, the
holy
power of
shit, we're Captain
friendship
Cold.
solves the issue. Bloody hell. You've got to make things more interesting. You've got
Oh
to
my
make things
god.
more
Being touched.
unpredictable. By just trying to force a formula that you want to work isn't the
Alright,
solution.
GG.
These are my
Hope the
thoughts.
PvP dead.
Please let me know what you guys think. And I hope you guys like these sort of videos as well, because I think I might do more of them.
That was. These guys did